Kazakhstan, please welcome Elena Rybakina.
If Jessica Pegula is able to get a win today, she will surpass Coco Gauff as the top-ranked American. A lot on the line here. We are so
Yeah. We've had arguably the best three-night sessions in a row, and we are
shots to finish it in straights.
As we said, there's no secrets between these two, and there is no secret, Lindsay, that Rybakina is back to her very best. Let's take you away from Indian Wells for a moment, take you down under to Melbourne, where she ultimately picked up her second major.
Similar to Jess, Elena was able to get her
titles, as you say, ice cold. Also hasn't been that easy. Baptiste playing some beautiful hasn't been quite as smooth, particularly behind the serve, which will be encouraging, of course, for Pegula.
Yeah, Pegula's going to need to make a lot of returns and play. And when they played in Melbourne, Petch, those courts much faster. Ball was really sliding through. Ball, it should give Pegula a little bit more time today to make returns. Now, you said it's a perfect day. I think the players at 92 degrees, Petch, might think it's a little warm. We're going to have to see how that affects the ball flight. Will the balls be flying on these players?
If they are, who would it favor?
I think Rybakina. Pegula's doesn't hit with a tremendous amount of spin, so the margin is a little bit less. But if she can get her shots to slide through the court, she might get some errors.
Play.
That's going to be one of the keys, isn't it? Depth on return from Pegula. If she can get her racket on the ball and send it even through the middle of the court with some good depth, it's not going to be easy for Rybakina to be able to get on the front foot, which is where she wants to play her tennis. And
Pegula's got to get a read, though, on where Rybakina is going with her serve. Rybakina is probably the biggest weapon in women's tennis with that first serve, and able to produce all the serves, different speeds, all with a similar toss. So it makes it very tricky for a returner to know exactly where she's going. Rybakina also moves her positioning around on the baseline, faking players out, moving wide, serving tee, really mixing things up as a server. A lot of players don't get comfort in changing the routine or their position.
Hasn't been popping that many aces in her matches through to this stage, just 13 up till now, but already a couple.
Pegula stands close to the baseline, and be interesting to see if she changes that up as this match goes on. Stefan Vukov, coach of Elena Rybakina, who, after serving a suspension, was back helping her on site in Cincinnati, and really things started to change for Elena immediately.
Sealed with an ace. There'll be many more of those.
These two also played a good match in the semifinals of the WTA finals. Mark Knowles here coaching Jess. Mark Knowles and Mark Merklin have been in charge of Jess Pegula for a little over 2 years now. And have made huge strides in her game, but most importantly in her belief.
I was looking at some of her numbers. Statistically, in 2021, she was winning 68% of her service games. We've just seen her hold here nice and comfortably.
To do that, you've got to be able to hit your spot, pushing her to take short balls and to come into net. And the forehand improvement.
Medium 2 and on TC2 and the app, of course.
Wow, look at this. From 40 love up, Pegula finds herself with a break point.
Advantage, Pegula.
Rybakina. Is in another semifinal this year. Has won the most matches on tour, Svitolina.
Świątek, who's won this.
Game, Rybakina.
Going to the bag to change the racket. Lindsay touched on it, whether the ball would be flying a little bit out here because of the heat, and obviously Pegula not liking the string. She's actually not one that tends to get to grips with the conditions and the nerves and a big serving opponent if you don't like the racket you have in your hand.
And tough with an opponent who you've
That serve may well be more valuable. That was a nice little defensive.
You can start to see a pattern.
Kind of game maybe that the American kind of throw her arm at the ball here and try and feel it a little bit better, because unquestionably that's been a big problem for her in the opening 25 minutes.
15 left. Let the serve.
What a shot. Not just bringing the heat, definitely trying to think her way through some of these service games.
This is one of those.
Now time for plan B for Jess Pegula out here, and she's going to need to hope. Set down. Has come back from that particular deficit a couple of times, of course, all the way through this draw against Vekic and Ostapenko.
And it all starts right here. A little bit more creative with her second serve. And how do you do that?
Found some in there.
That has always been the more rock solid of the groundies. Just like that last forehand, Pedge, would it surprise you implementing it in matches is two very different things, and this has been something that she's been able to do.
Strong start to the second for Pegula, course of her career. And if there is a way, she definitely has the will. I'll do my maths again. She's won her last.
Rybakina had a tough summer at points and loses again.
Yeah, you're right.
Game Rybakina. 1 game on.
Under, but a little bit easier to travel in the States.
Love 15.
Every service game. Going back to Rybakina.
Moment and potentially a seismic shift out on Stadium 1. Here is Pegula with some more chances to break Rybakina.
Pegula found her timing in the second set. 9 unforced errors from Rybakina. Early in this second set, and more unforced errors. She's lost her control a little bit. Wonder why.
Just to put a little meat on those numbers that we just saw from Rybakina last season.
This tournament, her backhand was averaging 75, so
Yep.
a huge increase on that side for this second set. That last serve, by the way, 120 from her as well, so.
You're trying to finish the point too quickly?
Or overconfidence.
I wouldn't know what that feels like.
15 on.
There's one.
15. Game Draper.
More. It's got to weather the storm early in the exchanges. Just like that.
Advantage, Rybakina.
That is...
It's such great contact.
That's a walk. It's been spectacular weather this year. Surprisingly hot at times.
That's a good play. And make that three. Four.
Game Rybakina. Lead for serve.
Perfect game for Pegula.
40 left.
After getting close to getting that second set in the previous game, 2 points away. Gone right back to business here in her service game.
And that last second serve, perfect opportunity. You got the lead at 30 love, just a little confidence. You can take the risk. Tremendous game. Wonderful to watch. Gutsy second serve from Pegula. Once again, she protects her lead in this second set.
Of that match in the third set.
She had to work very hard.
Game Rybakina.
She did in the semifinals of the Australian Open with a second set tiebreak, the chance to get this to a third. So big from possible for Pegula to defend that. That's a great play. Never done it more.
Rybakina with a couple of match points. Just like in Australia, as Lindsay said, it is a second set breaker that decides this. And it is another time that Rybakina has got the better of Pegula. That is 5 now. And the Australian Open champion through to the last 4 once again here in the desert. They've met once on hard in Tokyo. Rybakina had a forehand volley that should have given a match point. Sabalenka once again back in the semi-finals here. Pegula, for the first time in 8 events, has not made it through to the last 4. She has been a model of consistency in recent times, but it's the greater serving power and ground stroke power from Rybakina that sees off the American. We're next going to see here on Tennis Channel the match happening out on Stadium 2 between Medvedev and Draper. That is up next.